There are two parts to healing the fearful avoidant attachment style that you need to know. And because I always want to give you the faster way, the easier way to heal, we are going to talk about it today. I am Pauline, and I am so happy you are here because you are probably well on your way on healing the fearful avoidant attachment style. And you probably have a tendency or have been focusing a lot on understanding the triggers and seeing the patterns and seeing where it comes from and healing the trauma and digging in and analyzing, being very self-reflective. You are good at that, and that is a good thing. That is really helping you. It's absolutely part of healing the fearful avoidant attachment style. But because I want to make this easier for you and make it go faster, we really also need to address the second part. So we are going to go into both parts, which are very different, but both very, very important. So the first part is definitely digging into the trauma. That does not sound very inviting, does it? But it means understanding your triggers and healing them at the root, because that obviously goes the fastest. And you're probably already there. You're not at the superficial level anymore. You've gone through therapy. You've done a lot of things. You read a lot of self-help books, and you have gone deep, but maybe you haven't really found the absolute roots yet of the fearful avoidant attachment style, or you haven't found a modality or a tool yet to actually release them and release the emotional charge around it. That is so important. That is so important. Because otherwise you can't really analyze it and understand it and know the patterns and see yourself doing it. And still, when you get into that situation, you get triggered and you react the same way. And that is because that reaction is visceral. It comes from your body. And so we need to release it from the body. And so that is where a tool or modality is really important in releasing and healing. And that could be EMDR. A lot of therapists use EMDR, which is an amazing tool. And I've used EFT, the emotional freedom technique. And just to give kind of like a very concrete example of the healing journey and why it is so important to have those two parts. 15 years ago, I was in the crash state of the fearful avoidant attachment style. And that means I was triggered every day, pretty much all day. I was scared to go outside because somebody could say something, and I would obsessively analyze that for weeks or months. And I just did not feel good about myself. I didn't like life. Life felt completely overwhelming. I was exhausted so much of the time. I was very afraid of my feelings. I felt broken, really. And I just wanted to feel good. And I also didn't want this to be the rest of my life. I did not know it was the fearful avoidant attachment style, by the way, because 15 years ago, this information was not very readily available. But I wanted to heal. And I tried a lot of things. I went to a lot of therapy, different kinds of therapy, and nobody really seemed to get it and really understand it. A lot has changed in 15 years, so therapy now is different than it was 15 years ago. I remember going to a therapist, a psychologist, and I sat across from her and told her my thoughts, and she looked at me and she said, well, when that happens, you just have to slam your fist on the table and say, stop, thoughts. And she meant very well. It's a common exercise in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is very well researched and has a high effectiveness. But I looked at her and I thought, you have no idea what is going on in my head and my body. Because this feels like a very tiny bandage on like a gaping flesh wound. So I finished that session, those sessions that I had to finish, and kind of complied and just went back to trying to figure this out myself. And after a long time, I came across a healing tool that could actually release feelings and emotions from the body. And I remember running into it and I thought, wow, I feel so full. Like it feels like I have so many feelings and emotions that just like almost a pressure cooker in a way. But I was also very afraid of feeling those feelings. And learning about this tool and what it meant, and learning that feelings are actually meant to be felt and you don't have to suppress them, and that already helped so much. And so with emotional freedom technique, I have healed a lot of the triggers, a lot of the roots, and that took a lot of time figuring out all the triggers and all the roots and where it came from and how it was all connected, which was equal parts super fascinating and became an absolute straight up obsession, which is why I do what I do and I love what I do. And it was also very frustrating because I had no idea where this was leading to, whether what I was doing was actually making any sense, because I did not know about even trauma, but also fearful avoidant attachment style. So it was just a lot of trial and error and a lot of relapses and mental breakdowns. Um, but that took a lot of time, and when I was healed to a certain point, um, I realized that whenever something happened, whenever I still got triggered, or I felt something that I didn't want to feel, um, I started digging for what was wrong and what was missing and what I needed to figure out and release. And first of all, what I then uncovered was that just releasing trauma wasn't enough. I needed to also release and heal the negative associations I had around positive things, because I wouldn't allow myself to feel good. I wouldn't allow myself to be happy. I wouldn't allow myself to enjoy the moment. I wouldn't allow myself to relax and rest. And all of those things were positive things, but I started digging for trauma. And I needed to release the negative associations around those positive things so that I could just allow myself to be happy. And that sped up the healing journey for sure. But even when I did that, I realized that I got to a point where I thought I wasn't sure what who I was anymore. Like, what was trauma and who was I? That this was when I did figure out this was an attachment style. And I realized that was when I was pregnant with my first child, with my daughter, which is now 6 years ago. By that time, I had already healed a lot. I had had relationship OCD and all types of OCD, and by that time, I didn't have that anymore. I did struggle with anxiety and perfectionism a lot. And when I was pregnant with her, it was like another door opened, and I finally could allow myself to see that the relationship I had with my parents, which felt like it felt like it was secure, that actually I did have the fearful avoidant attachment style. I recognized a lot what I read from certain sources in the fearful avoidant attachment style. And by that time, I had already had a Dutch program for helping people, girls mostly, with doubts in their relationship, which, looking back, was relationship OCD. And I had completely gotten out of that. I was married by that point. I was happy. No more doubts whatsoever. But when I did that, I realized that the patterns that I saw with these girls were so similar. I thought I was the only one that had all these crazy obsessive ideas or thoughts. And so during that time, I already started mapping patterns. So during sessions, I just kind of wrote everything down, and then I meticulously just mapped all the patterns. And so when I found out about the fearful avoidant attachment style, all of that clicked. I had already such a huge set of data that I could just that I knew was this. And that's when I dove in even more and healed the attachment style, which went so much further than just my relationship. It has an impact on pretty much all parts of your life. That was also around the time that I started this channel, because I just could not shut up about it. I just wanted to understand everything about it, because it had such a big impact on my life and therefore also your life. And I just wanted to help. Still do, 6 years later, or whenever I started this channel. And so just to show that I was focused on the trauma so much that I got to that point where I thought, who am I without all this trauma? Like, what is my identity without this trauma? Who do I want to be? And by that time, I had learned that our thoughts and our beliefs are very much influenceable. Like, we can choose what we believe. We can choose who we want to be, really, for a large part. Of course, there are certain things that you probably have liked since you were a child. I have always loved just, cozy, soft sweaters, for instance. And I love certain types of music. I mean, that is part of who you are. But there's the set of beliefs you have. You're not victim to the set of beliefs that you have. You can change them. So I realized that I had been focused on cleaning the house, but not on decorating it. And what I mean by that is that, just imagine that you have a house. So the one part is releasing the trauma, and that is cleaning the house. You get a house that is just full of debris. It's not in a great condition. There's mold, there's all kinds of things that are wrong. So you fix a lot of things. Very important. You can't just move in without doing that. Removing the debris, really cleaning it, making sure that it is habitable. But that does not make it a home yet. It's now a functioning house. And that's exactly what I felt like when I had healed most of the trauma. I had become dominantly securely attached, but I felt like a functioning human being, and I felt like there was something missing. And what I was missing was the decoration of the house. And that's how you make it a home, right? You can have a functioning house, but until there's stuff that you love, and you decorate it with colors you love, and just make it just cozy, whatever that means for you, it won't be a home. So you want to make it a home. And I had healed so much trauma, but I didn't feel really at home in myself or in my life or in my body. And I had heard about positive affirmations and creating new beliefs, but that just felt downright impossible with all the trauma. Because when I tried that before, when there was still so much trauma, I noticed that my whole body, my whole system just kind of shut down and said no. And that was my fear brain just sabotaging it and saying, nope, that's not safe. No, it's not true. I made more videos about this. The rewiring bridge is a really good one to watch. And so I stopped because it was just overwhelming. I kind of got triggered by using positive affirmations. Then when I got further in my healing journey, I felt like I had more of a foundation for those beliefs to actually land and not trigger me anymore. And so what I did was what I saw a lot of people advise, which was just, say the positive affirmations, use them, and then 3 times a day, and then let it go, and it will happen. So I tried that, and it didn't really work. This was, I think, around the time when I was still struggling with anxiety. And then there was this moment I realized, I have an obsessive brain. It used to be OCD. I don't have OCD anymore, but my brain just loves focusing on something obsessively, which is a good trait. It's a good trait. I also have a video on it. I will link it. But obsessiveness is such a good trait to have. Pretty much all successful people have a degree of obsessiveness to them. So it gets a bad rap, but that's not fair. And then I thought, well, I just need to focus that obsessiveness towards what I want, towards something that I want. And how I saw it was, and I've shared this analogy before, but if you have a kitchen paper towel and you put only a few drops of water on it, what happens when you put a lighter to it? It probably will still light up and just burn away, right? A few drops of water won't protect it. If the kitchen paper towel is your brain, and your thoughts. And the fire, the lighter, is fear. What then happens when you put more drops, which are the thoughts and beliefs and affirmations, on the kitchen paper towel until it is completely drenched? Just drench the paper, your brain, with the positive affirmations that you want. What then happens when you put a lighter under it? It won't light, and it might even put the lighter out. And so I started obsessively saturating what I wanted. And I called it obsessive saturation because I had this image of that saturated kitchen paper towel. And I just focused my obsession on that, what I wanted. So I first wrote out what I wanted to be like and what I wanted to believe and what I wanted in my life. And that's when I noticed that I had so fully focused on what I didn't want and what was missing, and digging for the trauma and analyzing the trauma, that I did not put enough time and energy into what I did want and who I did want to be. And the clearer that picture became, the more easy it became to get there and to heal, because my fear brain realized that it wasn't that scary after all. And so that's how I started decorating my home. I thought, okay, but this brain is what I need to live with for the rest of my life. So what thoughts do I want to have? What beliefs do I want to have about myself? What would actually serve me? And not what I thought I should believe, but actually what I wanted to believe. And that was a very interesting process in and of itself, but it was so important that that part was added. And I think this happens a lot, that people just get stuck in healing and healing and healing and not really getting to that place of being healed, because that in a way is a new identity. And having a new identity requires you to look at what you want to be like, and kind of design a new identity. And that is an amazing thing, but it's tempting to go back into analyzing and mapping the patterns. But obsessive saturation absolutely is the second part to healing. It's the decoration of the home. It's what makes you feel at home in your body, and you can make it just more and more beautiful, because you can believe whatever you want to believe. And your beliefs have such an enormous influence on yourself, on the trajectory of your life, on how other people perceive you, on what you achieve or not achieve, on what you allow or not allow. And you can create the identity that you want, and that feels good to you, and that's unique to you. That's unique to everyone. But that was definitely such a big missing part for so long. So those are the two parts to healing the fearful avoidant attachment style. I'm really curious if this makes it more clear, whether you've already tried obsessive saturation, whether you have been aware of that second part, and then also using it at the right time. So not too early in the journey, but definitely adding it once you found a foundation of healing. I really want to know. Let me know in the comments below. And of course, this is also what we do in Healed and Happy and in my other programs. We use both parts because that is just such an important part in healing. As always, I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.